Welcome to our podcast. This is Real Talk with Mary Contrary and Starfish. All right, everybody, welcome back to our podcast. This is Real Talk with Mary Contrary and Starfish. And today we are continuing on with our subject of the Project 2025. As you all know, this was quite the document, so we've had to get through quite a few subjects. This episode today, we're going to talk about Trump's Megaforce. And so this episode has to do with what Mr. Lovely is going to do to our military and armed forces. And I also wanted to talk to you guys a little bit. You know, I know that this is kind of like we've been doing a lot of these episodes the last couple months, but I feel that this is kind of an obligation for both me and Starfish as American citizens to discuss this. I know there's a lot of material already out there. There's a lot of people that have done probably a lot more research than even we have on this subject. But, you know, I feel like it's important for us to kind of also summarize some of this for everybody, just to give everyone a good idea of what we're facing with this election. I just feel it's just important for us as American citizens to really look at everything objectively with these subjects. And I mean, for me, this is very terrifying. I feel like that, like I said in the very first episode of this is the biggest scam story that I've ever seen in this country. So, and it is very scary, a lot of this stuff. And I just don't think that people realize the impacts that another Trump administration would have on this country. And it just really affects so many different facets of our government, of people's personal lives. You know, we've talked everything from healthcare, the impacts of healthcare, education, and now we're going to talk more about like the military, and you know, I just think this is real important that we discuss all this, don't you think, Starfish?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So important. I mean, the biggest scam is that, you know, Trump tries to hide that he has anything to do with this, and it's obvious that he's so ingrained in all of it when you really read it and understand it contextually. So I definitely agree. We had to talk about it for a while just to make sure people knew about it, to do what we could to put it out there because it's so important. So it's not my favoriteest to talk about.
Right.
I'd rather talk about scams because this is very, actually, I just, it makes me really, really depressed to think about this world, you know, living in this world that he wants to make. So
yeah, definitely.
Scams are a little less worrisome.
Yeah, I mean, it affect usually, you know, scams affect like a small number of people, sometimes a larger, but this scam honestly really just affects every single individual, I feel like, in this country.
Even
And
globally. I mean,
yeah, globally for sure.
like, you know.
I just find it really terrifying. So let's go ahead and dive into what Trump wants to do with the military with Project 2025.
So the document really talks a little bit about how there's kind of a recruitment crisis, which you know, I assumed that because the military is very unpopular right now, all these wars that we really didn't need to be in, especially after Afghanistan, you know, just really bad. So, you know, obviously it's a pretty broad social, political problem that we have. Trust in the military. You know, there's plenty of surveys out there documenting this. So essentially these are under the guise of trying to fix the recruitment issue. So one interesting thing too is that a lot of people are not eligible anymore to be in the military. A lot of it has to do with like weight, which is interesting. But like a lot of young kids who I know, a lot of so fewer people are going to go be recruited, and also fewer people are eligible of those who do go to sign up, because there's this big obesity crisis and mental health crisis and all these other things. So just a little bit of an interesting factoid about the recruitment itself has been struggling. So the idea is that they would do a couple things. So the first thing they would do is there's this thing called the MHS Genesis system. So it is a system that uses private medical records of potential recruits in military entrance processing stations, creating unnecessary delays and unwarranted rejections. So basically, we all have our health records online now. A lot of us do. And apparently these systems are connecting together into this MHS Genesis system, which frankly, I would love. I would love my medical records from all the places I've been to be in one place so I can see them all together. It's a great idea. And this plan has been in place for many, many years, this MHS Genesis system. It wasn't like some presidential thing. It was like an idea that they all thought would be good so that military recruits don't have to go find all their medical records here and there and bring waivers from doctors and blah, blah, blah. The problem is now, though, is that this MHS system like stops people from getting through. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's actually good because if you think of like Fort Hood, do you remember that where there was that big shooting with the guy who just basically went postal on base and shot up a bunch of people and himself. I wish I remembered his name off the top of my head. Anyway, terrible situation. And, Nadal Hassan was his name, I believe. Yeah. Anyway, so because of things like that happened in 2009, they said, we should probably make sure that we get all of their records ourselves, not just have them selectively choose what they give us. Well, of course, a lot of people these days have been treated for mental illness and been given medication for it, and that automatically flags you and makes it difficult for you to get through.
Right.
So Project 2025 essentially says, get rid of that.
So they basically are wanting like everyone and anyone to join then, right?
Yeah, of course. They don't care if a Fort Hood happens. That's just kind of the way of things, But yeah, they want to completely suspend the use of it. Just nix it. We don't need it. It prevents people from getting in the military. It also prevents dangerous people from getting in the military is the idea. There's better ways to deal with this than to just nix this thing. Like one thing that happens a lot frequently is that people like with ADD don't make it through, even though with medication they're fine,
Right.
So I understand that, but you can't just throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just say, forget it, nix the whole thing. There's ways that you can, waive those for the interim until they get into the system and then make them provide more documentation that they're getting medicine or whatever. I don't know, but they don't need to nix the whole thing. So it just makes me nervous because it seems like they just don't care at all what medical issues you may have and your preparedness for combat and which it can be very traumatizing. We all know, and they just want to throw people in. They don't care just to make sure we have the mega force, the mega forciest mega force.
Yeah, I just think, that is so crazy to me because I know that personally, like people close to me, that there was a few people I know personally that did not make it through basic training because it was so traumatizing just for that part of it, for that part of the military part of it, and so, we have a lot of people nowadays with a lot of anxiety and all these other things. And I just can't imagine just throwing all these random randos into the military and here's a gun and good luck,
Right. And that's what they've done for many years is just, anybody we can get. And that's not to disparage those who are in the military. My family is a very military family, but just again, let's not worry about actual people and their concerns and their worries and this brilliant plan to bring all their medical records together. Let's just nix it. Forget it. It's been in the works for decades. Anyway, so that's one plan they have. The other plan they have to save recruitment, which is, this one just really makes me mad because I have young children, is every student would improve the military recruiters' access to secondary schools, so that's high schools, and require completion of the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, so that's the ASVAB, the military entrance examination by all students in schools that receive federal funding. So that's a little caveat there. So they want to provide that test to every single student in a school that receives federal funding. So let's put that federal funding on the burner for just a minute. They want to give everybody the military entrance exam, essentially.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, my husband and I talked about this quite a bit because he was in the military, and my brother took the test too, the ASVAB, so I know what it is. My brother got such a good score. He's like an incredible test taker that they were like, "Do you want to be a nuclear engineer?" Right when he took it.
Wow.
He turned him down, but but I'm not totally opposed to the idea of every student taking this test to give them options. I think a lot of people aren't even, I would have liked to have known what my score was. Of course, they recruited my brother, but not me. It's like,
right.
What was my score? I don't really like the idea of the military having access to all the scores.
Yeah.
I think it should be not for the military. It should just be for the students to take the test if they want to open themselves up to a military career, which is not a bad career. I like, my uncles and my grandfather went through the military, and my dad, and retired in the military, and they have, my mom is living on my dad's military pension right now. So, it's great. But also, I think the part that ticks me off is only for schools who have federal funding. So are you saying that, we know that the schools that get federal funding are the poor schools. So what you're telling me is that every public student is going to take this test and be eligible to be in the military now. You're just trying to make a force out of all the poor people, another mega force from the poor people. You don't want your own kids going into military because your own kids go to private schools with no funding. So that's the part that pissed me off about this one.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy-ish. With, like, I don't know. That's just so crap. I mean, it's to me, this is typical Project 2025 MO. Target the poor, target the most vulnerable, and take away rights. Like, that's just what that is. Right.
Like, if this were really about creating a military force, it would be, let's test every student at age 15 or whatever, 17. I don't know. But no, this isn't about that. This is about, we need a military force. Let's make all the poor people do it for us. It reminds me of the Civil War when all those rich, big old lazy mofos were sitting around in their thrones having their slaves go fight for them, and the slaves were like, we don't want this, so
that right, like, oh my god, it's like
fight for you morons.
It's like going backwards in time with this crap, just total crap. So I also saw in this within the document that they want to cut all the high-ranking officers. Like, they want to get rid of a lot of the generals and increase the amount of troops. Like, so they want to get rid of all the leadership, basically, and increase the numbers. Like, just throw all these people, as many as you can as possible, in without any type of leadership. And I found that to be kind of ridiculous too.
I think a lot of that has to do with on January 6th, and we talked about this before, but on January 6th, Trump really wanted the military to essentially seize all the voting machines. He wanted to enact the military to fight against his election claims. Well, the general at the time refused. General Mark Milley. He said,
Mhm.
no, that's not what we use the military for. I'm not going to follow that order. And so now all of a sudden we don't need generals. We don't
Yeah.
need any more decision makers. Just follow my orders. That's what he wants.
Right. Right. So that
Oh, so gross.
that is like a crap policy too.
Mhm.
So that's like kind of like his idea. Like he wants to increase the military. He wants lots more force. He wants more machinery, more weaponry. Um, it's like what is this? The Middle Ages with the military? Like it's just kind of crazy to me. Like just ridiculous crap. Um, and I want to move into what it's going to do also to the veterans that have
Mhm.
fought for us and some of the things that it's going to take away. And so some of the things that I saw in the document that I read that were kind of alarming was that they want to shut down all the small VA clinics. That and a lot of these clinics, like I've actually worked at a VA hospital when I was in medical school, and um, it's hard for these veterans a lot of times to get to the bigger hospital. So they've created a lot of these smaller clinics across the country for them to go to seek care for. Even my father's utilized this because he's a veteran as well, and there's smaller clinics like in rural parts of Colorado, or that are not part like of the Denver metro area that they utilize for stuff for other health reasons. And so like cutting those out, then you're just cutting veterans out of being able to access any type of like healthcare,
Right.
which I think is a terrible idea. It's like he wants to consolidate everything into these big centers and cut funding for a lot of their medical care. And I just completely disagree with that. I think we should be adding medical care to our veterans. I mean, these are people that have sacrificed a lot to serve. They've sacrificed their time, they have sacrificed their mental um, states, they've sacrificed their bodies. Like it's just ridiculous to
They
take
should be
something
getting
like
the
that away.
same Medicare. They should get the same medical care as Congress should. I don't even know what, first of all, I don't think we should have VAs. I mean, unless there's no medical clinics in the area, get rid of all the VAs and just put them on regular, like the best health insurance possible, that would make it essentially free and as
Yeah,
good as because the VA is terrible. I mean,
it
my
is.
dad went
There's a
there.
lot of
He had,
flaws.
and I love see I appreciate veterans more than I do people who are being recruited into the military, of course, because the veterans are the ones who already did it.
Right.
So just generally I feel like this speaks to their, again, they care about babies in the womb but not people once they're born. They care
Yeah.
about recruitments but they don't give a crap, and troops but they don't give a crap about the veterans. So first of all, I agree that getting rid of the VA without giving them this separate insurance. First of all, I think they should be able to go anywhere, because my dad, when he was sick, we went to the VA, which was an hour away. So we had to drive an hour either way. There was one north of us and one south of us. It was quite a trip, and he had lung cancer. So it was like an hour in the car is a lot for somebody with cancer. So I would have loved a local outpatient. There is an outpatient one here now where we live, and it's just up the road. And I would have loved to have gone there, but the VA was terrible. They were jerking him around. They made him come down there a million times. They
Yeah.
told him he had brain cancer. He didn't. I mean, it was bad. So I actually yanked him out of there completely and put him in the hospital because I knew he was going to die anyway. And there's no way I was going to let the VA do that to my dad. I was like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not going to let my dad be a part of your crappy, shitty system that you set up here to take care of our veterans. My dad served during Vietnam, for God's sakes. This man deserves to be in a bed in a hospital with people who are watching him 24/7 and care about him. You guys don't fucking
Yeah.
care. He
Yeah.
wasn't even inpatient there. He wasn't even inpatient. Like, he was literally frail, couldn't get around. Like, it was just stupid. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I don't know. VA really is, I have like just mixed feelings about it. I don't think we
Yeah.
should have VAs. I think we should have them as like a resource center or something, but not to provide the medical care, because they don't care. They are rude. They are horrible. They don't provide the best medical care. And
I
our
agree.
soldiers deserve way better than that. So I like the idea of giving them the best insurance ever, basically like Medicare on steroids, what Congress gets. And
Yeah.
let's let it be that. Like, why do we need to make this so damn complicated? So I don't disagree with getting rid of VAs, but only if they create better insurance.
Yeah, well, and but the problem is with Project 2025, they're not doing that. What they're doing
Oh
is
no,
they're forcing them to go to the VA and making it shittier and shittier than it already is, and we already know it's crap. So
right.
it's just,
I mean, going
just,
an hour out of your way is
yeah,
terrible.
it's just
he had
garbage.
to find rides. He couldn't drive himself. Like, it was just terrible.
Yeah, complete and utter garbage for that. I also saw in the document where they want to require military families to move every 3 years. And
What?
yeah, I mean, that might have been something that we could have pulled off in the 1950s, when you had the male, the breadwinner of the family, and you could afford to do stuff like that. But nowadays it really takes two income households to make it in America, because of how shitty everything's gotten with
Right.
inflation and cost of living and everything, and cost of childcare and everything. So that would just completely be unappealing to most people, because it's like, well, you have a wife who's going to law school to become a lawyer, and she has to up and leave her practice every 3 years. Like, that just doesn't make any sense, right? Like, that's total bullshit too. Just for
Right.
them to be like, well, we need you over here now. We need you to do this. And, like, I just don't think, I just think that's a terrible plan too. I think that's stupid to do.
Yeah. Why? I don't understand that one. That's
Yeah.
weird. I mean, is it just to keep them as agile and mobile as possible?
Yeah,
I suppose?
basically. Yeah. In case they want to mobilize them for domestic or abroad, basically, because
So keep them on their toes.
yeah.
Keep them on their toes. Keep them. I mean, like, I know military brats, like my uncle's family. They moved all around the world. They lived all around
Right.
the world when he was in the military. So I know it's rough to move around as it was, and it felt like
Yeah.
every few years, although I wasn't really, I don't know, I was a kid, but still, that's a weird, every 3 years. That is so short. I mean, by the time you move, you're planning your next move,
Right.
3 years for me is like nothing. That's like a blip,
Right.
especially with your kids, and your kids are coming in and out of schools. And I know they have base housing and stuff, so that might make it easier, but still, I don't know. It seems weird. They just want to shuffle them around like cattle, make them have to sit there and wait on call and be ready.
And basically take away all the benefit of what the armed forces offers.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we're far from where we should be as far as military benefits to our vets, but at least we still have programs in place. That they can still get VA housing loans. Like, I think in this document they want to take away that kind of stuff as well. And I just think it sucks. Like, this is a terrible policy for our military personnel. And I feel like it's very disrespectful, because I have a lot of respect for the military.
Yeah, they just don't. I mean, again, like, I don't know how you cannot care for the veterans. Like, they're the ones who did it already.
Right. Yeah.
It's just this. And I feel like the military has shifted in terms of like being a conservative thing to being more of a centrist thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because my family's always been in the military, and yet obviously I'm pretty liberal. And my dad too, he became more liberal as he aged, because he hated the policies of the people who were in power. He's like, you guys don't care about us. You don't care about the VA, the veterans. You say you do, but you don't. They never changed any of the drug prices or any of the, they never added benefits or anything in his lifetime. He never saw a single drop of care toward him. And I just, my dad happened to have a pretty easy experience in the military.
Yeah.
He was bowling most of the time, to be frank with you, but um a lot of people don't, and it is really tragic to think about not treating them the way that they obviously deserve. I mean, whenever I'm around a military person, I'm so nervous. Like, thank you so much for your service. I appreciate it so much. I can't
Right.
even
Yeah.
thank you enough.
Yeah.
Like, how can we not even appreciate them enough to give them basic health care? Like, what the fuck is wrong with us?
I know. Yeah. I agree. I just think it's a terrible tragedy. And like the other thing that I read in the document is they also want to take away abortion rights for the military personnel.
Of course.
And this is going to kind of segue into our next episode, but that sucks too, because unfortunately in the military, I know there's been a lot of like unwanted pregnancies because you have a lot of female officers that are trying to start their careers. And, I mean, I don't like to really say that, abortion is the way to treat something like that. Like I kind of want to get away from, some of that wording, but like sometimes the stuff happens, like there is unfortunately a lot of rape that occurs in the military. And so you end up with like unwanted pregnancy in that regard. And I just don't think it's right to take that away from the military either, because I feel like a lot of the women personnel would be kicked out of the military.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh,
You
you
know,
were raped. Now you're gonna have an abortion so that you don't have to raise your raped baby, and you're gonna be kicked out now. No, so nothing you did wrong, not a single thing. But sorry, you're out
yeah,
because you were the victim of a horrific crime. It's
right,
just thanks for not liking women again.
right,
Again, you just
right,
hate us. You hate us. You want us to be You don't want us to be in the military.
submissive. Yeah,
Right.
like we're just
They don't want
we're baby
women.
making machines for them, and
Right.
that's it.
They don't want women. They don't want gays. They don't want trans. Fine. Oh, it's just going to be a bunch like what the handful of incels that are part of your party now. Like, I, I don't know. The military was the one thing that they always had, and I think they've lost it. Trump made them lose it. I think. I hope. But this is just insane that you would be raped and then you'd be kicked out for having an abortion. Like, F you, man.
Yeah, well, and even taking away the
Great.
right for them to do that. It's like just
Right.
forcing them to have it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know you own me because I'm in the military, but you can't, again, this is a doctor thing. Like having been pregnant, I know we're going to go into abortion in the next episode, but having been pregnant, it is terrifying. You can die at you're literally putting your body at risk every day. And I mean, yeah, there's a period of time where you're like, is this baby going to be healthy? Am I going to have to carry it to term? If it goes past a certain point, technically it's considered illegal abortion, and you could be put in jail because you were trying to save your life. I mean, being pregnant is difficult enough, and the decisions that you have to make every day to keep yourself and your baby alive are not easy. And you have to do things that you would never have thought you would have done, and your body has to go through things. So to take that away from them and to just make it into a law where we have to adjudicate it before somebody can go get an abortion, and by then they're dead. We're seeing that right now already in a lot of these states that don't care like about women at all. So I'm fired up about that topic for sure. That is
Oh yeah,
so messed up
absolutely.
that they're not going to let these women have their rights. I mean, okay, like let's do the same thing to men then. Sorry, you can't get Viagra pills anymore. Sorry, we don't think you should be able to have sex while you're in the military then. I don't
Right.
know. Like, how do we control their bodies so they get it?
Yeah, mandatory vasectomies or something then if you're going to go that route. It's just
Mandatory castration, sorry.
right. It's insane. And then and then also kicking out like the transgender and gay community out of the military. I know that we just finally got them into the military, and I know that there's a lot of fine officers that are very experienced that are transgender and gay or lesbian in the military currently, and we're going to just go ahead and shut them out again. You know, it's like the don't ask, don't tell on steroids with this damn Project 2025. And I just think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I
And
thought we had a recruiting problem. What? Why are we kicking him out? What? Did they make you uncomfortable? Especially like gay people? Like what?
yeah,
mean,
it's just
uh,
like, I just think this whole entire document is trash. You know, it is total trash for America. And
it is. It is.
like, it just really reaches in and affects everyone's personal life in so many different ways. And it's just unfortunate that people can't open up their eyes to look at this.
You know, a lot of people still say, "Oh, this isn't Trump's policy," and it is. It's undeniably his policy, but also I mean, the fact that they distance themselves from it so much just shows how scary and bad it really is. You know, they essentially want to get rid of the federal government in total, which gets rid of tons of federal programs, tons of things, and they want to give it all back to the states. And a lot of states don't believe in a lot of these programs. And we as Americans have decided we want these things. So you're going to take them away just because it's so much more efficient to have the federal government run a lot of these programs, because then you have to have every individual state create a law, create an office, create a whole system around it, instead of having the federal government run a lot of it. So it's really just a way to get rid of the government. You know, I heard this thing the other day that really bothered me, but also made me go, well, yeah, that women created the government as a way to protect themselves from men. And I'm like, pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't think we created it, but we are certainly using it as a tool against them, because they have treated us so poorly for so long. And this is our only avenue to equalize it, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And that's why they hate it so fundamentally, is that it gave us rights and took their power away. And
Yeah.
that's the gist of their platform, is they don't want anybody else in power except for them, those worms, you know,
Yeah.
because they don't feel like anybody else could be. They're the best. They're the most powerful, the most all-knowing creatures, white men.
Oh, yeah.
The
Conservative.
mansplainers.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
We
just
put in
ridiculous.
charge.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. It's like they just want to go back in time. It's just crazy to me. And this entire document is just garbage, and I hate it. I just cannot stand Project 2025. And I just feel like this is a huge step backwards, and I really hope this doesn't occur. And you know, I just hope this doesn't happen to our military, because I have a lot of respect for our military and armed forces, and I just think this is a terrible document, and it just totally takes away all the military's rights, and like it forces them into this regime to take over America. Like, it's just insane to me. Totally crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, another great episode.
yeah, and
I will not be sad to not talk about this anymore. It is so depressing to think about this very scary future.
yeah, I agree
Please
with
vote,
that.
please.
Yeah, it's like, please vote, please educate yourself. And we will get into a woman and gay rights in the next episode of this Project 2025 as we march on. But I just want to say to our listeners, like, we will be getting back to our routine, regular programming, I guess you could say. I just think it's important for us to talk about this Project 2025, since it's so scary, and it's something that will absolutely affect a lot of people's lives in a very negative way. And I think people just really need to understand that, and understand that this is an oppressive document meant to only benefit a very select few individuals. And like I've always said, and I will just tout this to my grave, you know, the 1% is very much alive, and they want to take away everything. So until next time, folks, please stay informed and stay safe. Thanks, everyone, for listening to Real Talk. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen. We look forward to having you on our next one.